Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Southside Beat here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel and DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcasting Network. My name is Chris Halicke. Matt Williamson joining me as always. What's going on, Matt? How you doing?
I'm great, man. Happy draft day eve.
Heck yeah. I'm excited.
I've been telling everybody this. I mean, this is no joke. When I was 8, 9, 10 years old, I had a much harder time sleeping on draft day eve than Christmas Eve.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean,
that probably explains some things. You know?
That probably does explain a few things. So yeah, it is an exciting day. It is truly the second biggest event of the calendar for the NFL. Obviously the Super Bowl being the largest, but I'd say even you could probably say, well, the entire regular season. Well, yeah, kind of, but like
kind of, but not really. I like this better.
The draft is just there's so much that goes into it for just a 3-day period.
So real quick, I mean, free agencies like this too. That first week or so. And my favorite part about it, it's the only time when teams can't lie to you. You might have to go through the tea leaves. You have to sort through things.
Yeah.
But you can get in the head of all 32 teams and really learn a lot and figure things out, especially when you're as dialed into the Steelers as we are. And last thing, my childhood, you're too young for this, but back in the day, this wasn't even on the weekend. Like they'd have it on a Thursday or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And no joke, you could ask my mom, like if I had 102 fever, she probably sent me to school. But draft day, I never went to school.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Rochelle asks, watching here live on YouTube, why don't we have Chris and Matt emojis? I'll have to bring that up with the upper management to try to figure out, because we get the little emojis for the live chat where they can put our little heads.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what you meant.
One. We got one for DK. We got one for Ramon and for Dolly, and I guess we got to get some for you and I. So
all right, let's make some noise about that.
So the draft is here. It's tomorrow. I mean, we're literally. I mean, it's 5:33 p.m. Eastern right now. We are less than 27 hours away from the Titans officially being on the clock.
Will you be at the facility tomorrow?
I will.
I'll be getting there a little before 5. Yeah.
Yep. So we won't be there that early. Well, we'll have to see.
I have to record some things with Dale and Mike Pursuta at 5. So
yeah. But we will see what all like what time we're gonna get there and everything. But it will all be there. They have the media workroom, and we'll be waiting for Mike and Omar to come in after they make their pick, or if they make their pick. If they don't completely trade out of the first round, I don't think that's exactly the plan.
I don't think that's happened since the early 60s. We had Bob Laviola on. He mentioned they've traded their first round pick like Minka, right, but they haven't traded out of the first round.
Yeah,
since like doing it for Dick Butkus or with the Bears or something crazy. Yeah,
yeah. I don't think that's a. We were talking about this earlier on double shot of Steelers. Like, I don't think trading completely out of the first round is something they want to do, but I do think that there's a concerted effort to try to trade down if there's a team willing to trade up.
I find it really telling and curious that a high percentage of their 30 visits probably aren't worth the 21st pick and aren't going to be there at 83.
Yep. It is telling.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I'm not trying to give away the farm because I did my mock draft earlier today. Go read it on DKPittsburghSports.com. But I did have the Steelers trade down to recoup at least one day 2 pick. And I think it might not be getting back into the second round. And from conversations, from things that I've heard, getting completely back into the second round is going to be a Herculean task if you don't want to get out of the first round this year and you don't want to trade a future really attractive asset like a second round pick next year. I just
maybe if you made a deal with the Chiefs at 31, you could squeeze their second out of them. Be a late second. The Bills, you're right.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking more along the lines of maybe you can get an earlier third round pick because there are a few teams behind them, like the Texans, for example, that have an extra third round pick that can possibly use that if they want to move up. They might be looking at wanting to fortify offensive tackle. And if there's a run of tackles and they're afraid that the Packers are going to take one or somebody else is going to take one, they can jump up a few spots and get their guy, whether it's Kelvin Banks or Josh Simmons or whoever it is.
Chris, along those lines, two of my predictions are they won't make a pick at 21, which means I think they'll trade back.
Right.
And one of their 2026 picks that they currently have will not be in their possession on Monday.
That's possible. I could see that. I didn't have that in the mock, but of course I had them trading, but I had them trade their 6th this year to get a better third round pick to move back for 4 spots.
I love that they have so many picks for next year, and maybe that turns into a quarterback. But you still can't take 6 fifth-round picks and move up in the first round for Pat Mahomes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I always say this: it's not like, it's not like 10 penny or 100 pennies equal $1, but 100 7th-round picks don't equal the first pick in the draft. You know what I mean?
It's the currency of draft picks does change from year to year, and so
nobody wants all your 7s.
Next year it'll be interesting because obviously they're going to have a lot of picks.
Yeah,
I mean, they're going to be in line unless they make some sort of free agent signing between now and Sunday. Because once Monday begins, like, you're free to sign whoever you want, and it doesn't count toward the formula anymore.
And Rodgers doesn't count, folks.
Right. He doesn't. So even if he were to sign in 5 minutes, he doesn't count. So yeah, they would be projected to receive the maximum of 4 compensatory picks. That would give them 11 total picks next year. And
it's hard to get those guys on the roster.
Yeah, it is. And so you're probably looking at putting together some sort of package that's probably going to include a future first and maybe some other attractive picks so that you can go up and get your guy, whoever it is.
And if you could get Houston's an obvious team to maybe trade with because they do have a bunch of picks after the Tunsil trade. You're only moving down 4 spots, 5 spots.
4, yeah.
And if you pick up a day 2, the 3rd in that mix, and maybe you trade some point during the draft next year's 3rd or 4th, you could end up with a real nice day 2 or rounds 2 through 4 haul, 3 and 4 maybe haul. And that's a nice spot to be picking this year.
Yeah, the sweet spot of this draft is definitely on day 2. And I was telling, like, even if the Steelers do trade completely out of the first round, the gap between like 21 and
bother me.
34 is not that big.
And the 5th round option isn't nearly as used or as valuable as it used to be.
No, it's really not. Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue to dive into this. We're going to try to look at some scenarios of who the Steelers might, who they might pick. Obviously, what does trading back do? We'll answer. If you guys have any questions, we'll answer your questions. But for right now, we're going to take a really, really quick break, and we'll be right back right after this.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Southside Beat here on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Steelers YouTube channel and podcasting network. Chris Halicke and Matt Williamson here. Chris here said that sub watching live. They said this is great. DK Pittsburgh Sports all day. Daily Shot, Scout's Eye, Ramon Foster, Double Shot, Southside Beat, all in one day. Had a lot of content today to get you ready for the draft. Brick here asks, do you guys think Grant or Nolan will be available at 21? It's a good question.
I'm quite confident Grant will be, which makes me happy. I'm getting less confident Nolan will be. I think some of this like character stuff with Nolan might be make-believe.
I have him
Yeah.
I have him going. I forget where I put him, but not available when the Steelers would be. If they were to stand pat and pick at 21, I don't have him available. I think he's long gone by then, actually. Yeah, there could be a few teams that look
There's
to
some
get
landing
a
spots
tackle.
there,
Yeah, there are for sure. I think I had him going to the 49ers, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's about the earliest he could go. But yeah, I don't think that's crazy though. Yeah.
Yeah. Grant could go. I could also see Grant possibly going ahead of when the Steelers would pick. The Dolphins have a lot of needs, and
boy, what a nightmare they are.
They're hard to predict. I think I had them taking a corner, if I'm not mistaken, but
to your point though, their defensive tackle depth chart is hideous right now.
Yeah, so they
are a line and safety and corner, and
they have so many needs. Now the question is, and I think for me, I went with the corner. I think I went with Jahdae Barron because I'm like, between Jahdae Barron and Kenneth Grant, like, who's the better player? I went with Barron. I think very, very highly of him, not only from my own experience with him at his interview at the Combine, but I also heard a lot of great things from the Steelers on him too.
Oh yeah, I bet the Steelers like him a lot.
Oh, they love him. I know that they were blown away by him. Unfortunately, he's most likely not going to be there at 21.
Right.
I think he would be one where we're not trading back. We're just going to take him.
Maybe.
Yeah. And that would definitely be like a best player available situation. That would not be let's address a need, because corner is not really a high pressing need like defensive tackle is, or running back, or receiver's not really a need anymore. You'd like to add another one maybe, but
have a bonus prize. Yeah.
And I'm not getting into the George Pickens crap that's been going around today. It's just,
I didn't even know there was stuff today.
Yeah, there was stuff about the Steelers are not just taking calls. Of course, you're always taking calls. That's not news, but also making calls, like shopping him.
Gotta go. I wouldn't buy that.
I don't buy it either.
I will tell you, a very good source told me about 5 minutes ago that the Steelers love Egbuka, which I totally understand. That doesn't mean they're trading Pickens or anything. Right. They could still love him. I mean, they could love Cam Ward too.
And listen, if a team this is why you're always taking calls.
Yeah.
Because if George Pickens gets traded tomorrow or Friday, somebody's going to come and say, "Chris, you were wrong." There are so many variables that go into this. There could be a team that calls and sweeps Omar off his feet, where he goes to Tomlin or Rooney or both, and he goes, "Okay, we weren't going to trade George, but we just got this offer." And
you're not doing your job if you don't.
Exactly.
Right.
And if this is just we never ever thought we could possibly get this. We could possibly take Egbuka or whoever else in the first round.
And look how the draft sets up for us now. We get everything,
Exactly. Right. You never know. You never know. You have to be open to everything when you're the GM, because your main job as the GM is to acquire as many assets as you possibly can and use that to build the team, to build a roster. And if you just tell people, "No, I'm not listening on George at all,"
you're not.
And especially when he's heading into the last year of his deal. So again, I don't think he's going to be traded. I've been told that, but
I think they have every intention of lining him and DK up every snap and see what happens,
But you never know when you're going to get that phone call that's just going to be like, okay, this changes things. Let's try to get through. So, okay, of the trade back situations, because I think somebody actually asked this. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, Brent asks, if we trade back and get into the second round, do you think our first pick could be a running back?
In that case, I would condone it more because you added stuff. If it's Hampton or Henderson and you take them at 35, you made a deal with the Giants who come up for Dart or Sanders or whatever.
Right.
A bunch of good stuff. And it's such a deep defensive tackle draft. And you get a difference maker running back, and you still have the assets because of the trade back to add Alexander or Tyleik Williams or two of them, really. I'm cool with it, flat out taking one at 21 without making any more moves doesn't sit great with me.
Number one, it would have to, I'll put it this way. If Nolan and Grant are gone and you're choosing between Hampton and Harmon,
You're not lumping Harmon with Nolan and Grant?
I am.
Okay.
I am. But I'm just saying, like, if those two are gone and you've got Harmon and Hampton, are you going Harmon no matter what?
Yeah, I'm taking all three of those D linemen pretty much over everything.
Right.
Quarterback, running back.
And I think, and I've already reported this on DKPittsburghSports.com, but the Steelers like Harmon more than I think any of these other tackles. I really do. I think they really like his passion for the game and his high football IQ. I'm talking about size too, like size and length. Yeah. But it's also the fact that he understands that he's one of 11 and he understands that he's got a role to do on.
Good point.
And so that it's having that awareness of, I just don't need to win my rep. This is what I need to do, not only for me to try to win my rep, but also to help set up the linebackers behind me or to set up the edge rushers who might be doing this or whatever it is.
Along those lines, he's really good on twists and stunts and eating up two blockers so he can free somebody up and all those things. It's funny because I mentioned the fellow that mentioned Ibuka to me said, "You think the Steelers are scared off by this Harmon knee stuff?" And I said, "I don't know. I hate talking about medical, but they took Fautanu, Peyton Wilson, and Washington in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's been okay." Well, I guess Fautanu didn't play last year, but I mean, it's right. I mean, it hasn't scared them off.
Well, I mean, no, it's definitely not scared them off. And again, they had Harmon in for a pre-draft visit, which that's going to be the time that you do your medicals on him. And if you feel good about that entire process and what you got back on that, then you're going to take him. You know,
2 weeks ago. That wasn't in Indy a couple of months ago or whatever. You know.
Jim asks, and maybe you have this I don't know this off the top of my head, but he said, who has the highest RAS score out of the three defensive linemen between Grant, Harmon, and Nolan?
I guess someone listened to my podcast about RAS scores because that is a big deal with this team.
It is.
If you give me
good podcast,
more than give me about 30 seconds here. I am trying to find the link. So we can chat about other stuff, but I am interested.
I do know that a lot of these guys, like Nolan, for example, I don't think he's going to have a RAS score because he barely tested.
That's one thing that bothers me is so many of these teams some of these players haven't done other stuff, this year. Like a lot of teams, a lot of them haven't run. They haven't done 3 cones. They haven't done things like that. Like, come on, man.
I mean, Nolan didn't work out at the combine, and I think at his pro day, he only did bench. If I'm not mistaken, really? I think. And that was the one thing of all the stuff that's happened throughout the pre-draft process in terms of character issues, all this stuff. The only thing that ever happened to me or that happened that had me questioning anything when it came to him was the fact that he didn't do anything at his pro day or like other than bench press. I was like,
okay,
why aren't you doing other things? I understand at the combine, like if you're still working through something or if you want to lose a few more pounds or whatever it is, I get it. The combine comes up quick. But yeah, I that was the one that, but I don't think that just completely writes you off and be like, nope, we are taking him off our board. We're not even going to consider him. The other thing to me that, and I wanted to bring this up with you as well, is that I've gotten a lot of questions about, like, especially when it comes to Kenneth Grant, I've got a lot of questions about, like, why aren't the Steelers didn't have him in for a pre-draft visit. So why aren't they interested in him? I'm like, they are interested in him.
Yeah.
Like they had a meeting with him at the combine. The pre-draft visits are not the be all end all when it comes to who they're interested in and who they're not.
They have tremendous Michigan connections too.
They don't have to be at that pro day. They don't have to be. They usually go, but and Terrell Austin was there, but that does not. Yeah, that was the one thing like that I've never understood about this entire process, and maybe that's the reason why I'm gonna say it, and it's gonna make my skin crawl. That it confuses people whenever you hear top 30 visits because they're not top 30 visits.
Top is not the right word.
No, they're not.
Right,
because it does suggest that the 30 players that they bring in are their top guys, and that's not what these pre-draft visits are. Maybe they just want to bring in a guy just to get a medical examination or just because there was one box they couldn't check during the Senior Bowl or the Combine or at a pro day, and they just need to know one more thing. And so that, or maybe it's the most extensive meeting they ever have. You don't know the reasons for why they brought somebody in. They just wanted to bring him in.
Sometimes it's as soon as they walk out the door, like, oh, I'm scratching him off the list. Like, and that's valuable too.
Yeah.
So real quick, I found this. Took me a second. I apologize. So
no, you're good.
If you listen to my podcast, Omar over his 2 years has a very high, the number one of all GMs, highest percentage of guys with a 9 or higher RAS score, relative athletic score. And it's it's out of 10 system. So over 9 is rare. Kenneth Grant comes in at a 7.2, which is good, not great. Nolan and Harmon both don't qualify because they didn't do enough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple of the D linemen that do, I think of interest. Ty Robinson is a mid-round guy that I could absolutely see in Steeler colors. TJ Sanders is over 9. Savion Jones, Darius Alexander, DJ West. Darius Alexander to me just, lights go off.
Like you don't like him?
No, good lights.
Oh, okay.
Like in for a visit, Mac guy, over the RAS, fits the scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they were to trade down pretty heavy, take him at 38 or 40, I could see that for sure.
I would have loved to see your reaction whenever he was at the Senior Bowl.
I heard it was. I watched on TV. It was good.
The last rep he took on the final practice was impressive because
he's powerful.
He's quick.
Yeah,
he is really quick. He was lined up outside the tackle and came off the edge like an edge rusher and just beat the tackle to the outside. I'm like, somebody that big should not be able to move that fast.
Yeah, I get that.
And so it was, now granted, you're not going up against Laramie Tunsil. You're not going up against one of the best tackles in the NFL.
Sure. And he's a little old. He's quite old. Yeah,
he is. So he's not the perfect prospect, but man, there's a lot of intrigue there. There really is.
I could really see him as a Steeler. He kind of checks all the boxes.
He does. And I do think that if the Steelers trade back, I do think he becomes a very viable option. Now, I personally think that if Derek Harmon's available, even after they trade back, that's their guy.
Sure.
But if he's not there, if Harmon's like, for example, if they do trade back with the Texans and Michigan, or I'm sorry, I might as well just call them the Michigan Chargers at this point, but the Chargers just love Kenneth Grant because of the Michigan connections, and so they take him. And then what if the Packers take Harmon, or what if the Vikings take Harmon because they have needs of defensive tackle as well?
If it doesn't go your way on the trade day, right?
Yeah, you might have to be like, okay, well, we're going to make a decision here, and is Darius Alexander good enough to go at 25? That's.
I don't think that's insane. I've talked this to no end that Nolan, Harmon, Grant are really bunched together for me, and I'd be very, very happy with any, especially if you get him in a trade down.
Yep.
But if I have to go to my next D tackle, it's either Alexander or Tyleik Williams.
Yeah.
And I probably would take Alexander.
I would take Alexander over Williams.
Okay. Pure noses are hard to invest in.
That's just me. That's just me. But
you get a really good nose in the 3rd and 4th round.
Right. And to me, Alexander is a little bit more freaky than Williams is. And I would rather go with freaky in the 1st round over best schematic fit, or even Mike Tomlin said that the higher you're picking, the less the consideration there is for scheme fit or anything like that. It's like we want to find really, really good players up at the top.
Giants take Abdul Carter even though they don't need him. Exactly.
Like and that's what they should do. If Cam Warden, don't pass on somebody who could, he could be a legitimate star. Trading up is out of the question.
Out of the question.
I not only because of what the Steelers said, but I just don't see a scenario in which trading up does anything for you unless, and even then, like, this is just,
I can't picture anything.
The consensus
in round 1.
Right. Yeah. The consensus with this class is that it's not a top heavy class. There's not a lot of star talent at the top. And then from maybe 10 or 12 on down, through a long way to go. There's just a steady kind of line that kind of, it obviously goes on the way down, but there's not a steep drop off anywhere when it comes to the second half of the first round all the way through day 2. There's just not a huge drop off.
I don't even know who the target would be to even. The only one I could even think of is if Genty got to 15 or 16. Would you consider? And he's not going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
What
we're talking about, right?
Yeah. So trading up is pretty much out of the question. We wrote that yesterday after the press conference. Trading back does seem like the most likely scenario if they were to move. I could see them standing pat, but I really, really do think they want to get back into day 2. Like get another pick. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a second rounder. Any final thoughts you have for heading into just Thursday night? We can obviously talk about Friday night too and Saturday as well, but just Thursday night, is there something we haven't touched on that you really want the Steelers to consider, or just completely not consider? Like, for example, we haven't really mentioned quarterback.
That's to say the low-hanging fruit is, what about Dart and Shador? Yeah. I don't want either one.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I would understand it. It's just not what I would do.
And I'm of the belief, again, not just by my own opinions, but based off of things I'm hearing, is the next time they take a quarterback in the first round, they're going to make sure he's the guy.
And they're going to go.
I mean, they're going to
jump in the deep end, right?
Right.
Trade future first. Whatever. Hell and high water. Move hell and high water to go get what you hope is Mahomes and Allen.
Exactly.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Don't Kenny Pickett it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that they're gonna get that guy at 21. Like, even if Shador were to fall that far, if he falls that far, there's probably a reason.
Yeah. I urge everyone to go to drafthistory.com, just click on quarterbacks and look at all the quarterbacks in the last several years drafted between the 16th pick and the 45th pick. And what I mean by that is basically the second half of round 1, the first half of round 2. And Pickett was one of them. It's bad. I mean, it's Levis, it's Locke, it's guys like that have been on multiple teams already. It's bad.
You don't have to be a top, and this is the one thing that because I've seen, like, well, the Steelers just need to lose in 25 so they can go get their quarterback in 26. You don't have to tank to go get a quarterback, because shoot, man, there have been plenty of quarterbacks who've gone in the top 15 that are Hall of Famers.
Oh yeah,
future Hall of Famers. Like Ben was a 11th overall. I mean,
the Chiefs were picking 27 when they made the deal for Mahomes.
Exactly,
they were a good playoff team. They weren't a one and done playoff team.
Really quick, outside of the first round, because I don't think the Steelers are going to take a quarterback in the first round. And the thing is, like, in my mock draft, I literally had Sanders available at 21. Had the Steelers trade back, still available at 25, and still not take him. Like,
pass on him twice.
I am that adamant that I do not think they're going to take a quarterback in the first round.
I hope you're right.
Again, it would have to be a situation in which everybody else that they love is gone and they have nowhere else to go.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the only way possible. That would mean all the defensive tackles they want are gone in the first round. The running backs are gone. The receivers are gone, and no corner is really available and somebody that they would love. Like, it would pretty much be Shador or nothing.
And the only way that happens is if Jahad Campbell doesn't get drafted. Both safeties don't get drafted. There's no receivers off the board. There's not a huge run of O linemen. And most importantly, none of the edge go. The edge are going to go like crazy. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think Michael Williams and Walker are going to go? I mean, like,
do you know how many edge I had going in my first round mock?
But I bet no number's too high.
I had 7. I had 7 edges go in the first round.
And that'd be wonderful for the Steelers. If 5 or 6 go in the top 20, it absolutely could happen too.
Absolutely. Really quick, outside of the first round, because quarterback is an option later on. Yeah. Mike in Texas asks, do you guys think taking Will Howard is too high in the third round?
For me, for the Steelers, yes. For the Raiders, no. I mean, because I think he's Mason Rudolph, and we have Mason Rudolph here. Right. It's not a big enough swing. It's a running back or a nose or a corner you're sacrificing. If the Steelers didn't have a backup right now, I would understand it. But Rudolph has a lot of value just for that reason,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I do think. I think if they were to get back into and get another day 2 pick, I would consider
more picks make it more feasible.
I would consider it because I know they like him. I do know that. But the question is, how much do they like him? Like, where do they have him on their like, what grade do they have on him? Is it a situation where like, well, we took Mason Rudolph in the 3rd round, but we had a 1st round grade on him? Like,
yeah, I don't believe that ever. By the
way. How much do they like him? That's the thing. If it is stand pat at 21, make a pick, and then wait until 83 to make a pick, I don't see Will Howard being that pick at 83. I just don't. I see it being a defensive tackle, a running back, something else. I have a hard time thinking that the 2nd pick that they'd make in this draft, which is 83rd overall, would be Will Howard. I have a hard time seeing that.
I have no clue if it's possible, but the only ones I would consider at 83 are Shuck and Milrow.
I don't even know if they're going to be there.
I don't think they have any chance they're going to be there, but they're the only ones I would consider because they might be your answer. I don't think Howard's going to beat Lamar Jackson twice a year,
Yeah. Denny asks, if you don't get Howard in the 3rd, then who's the guy later on? Rourke?
Rourke is my favorite, but there's some complications here in that he's not going to be ready for camp.
Yep.
I don't know if he's going to be ready all year. So if I draft this guy, I want him to play a ton in the preseason. I want, and maybe next year you have a 1st round guy, which is really Rourke's rookie year, but he's my favorite. But it's just real sticky with how do you get him reps and what do you do with them,
Yeah. I think of all the later guys, I think McCord is probably my favorite, and he was brought in for a visit. So
yeah, I like him.
The true definition of a gunslinger. The problem is that he doesn't have the elite arm of a typical gunslinger, and so
he's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
win some games for you. He's Minshew, or he's one of these two. Yeah, right.
It's
Pitt fans will be like, "Don't give me him. You can't bring him up in this town because of the Pitt game." Right.
Yeah, it's funny because like I remember bringing up I had Ashton Jeanty going high in my mock, and somebody was like, he didn't look all that great against Penn State. I'm like, that was one game.
Yeah, he had
one game.
He had a bunch of lawyers and accountants trying to block Abdul Carter, and 11 guys keying on him. I've gotten that too. Like, boy, just don't take the Shenty guy. He stinks against Penn State. I'm like,
sorry.
Go watch the rest of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Go watch the rest of his games and just, yeah.
He earned every yard against the Nittany Lions.
He really, really did.
Yeah.
He really did. Any final thoughts before we?
No, I'm super psyched.
Yeah.
I do think there'll be a lot of trades, especially in the 2nd half of round 1.
I had, I think, 3 total drafts.
They do.
In my, no, it's not a lot, but there's, when's the last time all 32 teams had their 1st round pick heading into the night of the draft?
It's been many years, and I don't think it's ever happened that they've all made their picks.
Right. Yeah, that's what I think. And that's why I had trades. Like, normally I'd be like, oh, I'm doing a mock draft. I'm not going to do any trades. Mm-hmm. There are going to be trades.
There's going to be trades.
Yeah. So
I don't know if there'll be one before the buzzer starts Thursday night, but I think there will be Thursday night.
Yeah. Thursday night, I definitely see. And again, I do think putting my foot to the flame, I really do think the Steelers are going to end up. I think the Steelers will trade back. I don't know.
I do too, and I hope they do. Yeah.
But I do think they end up trading back, staying in the 1st round, but eventually trading back and getting one of their guys.
The mock builds work much better that way.
Yes, 100%. All right, well, we're going to wrap this up. Tomorrow night is the draft, the 1st round of the draft. Then Friday night, rounds 2 and 3. Saturday, rounds 4 through 7. We will be back next week. Don't know what day yet, but we will definitely be back next week. And we will obviously react to the entire draft class, everything that's happened with the Steelers. There might even be a second wave of free agency the next time
people get signed on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah,
absolutely. So, looking forward to it. Looking forward to the draft. You guys enjoy it. We'll catch you guys on the Flippity Flip. We'll see you later.